Hey everyone, this is Pete, and welcome back to Atari A to Z Flashback, a series of explorations of the 150 games that make up Atari Flashback Classics for Nintendo Switch. Today's game is Sprint Master, which was a 1989 release from Atari Corporation, programmed by Bob Polaro. It's a game obviously intended to at the very least pay homage to the 1986 Atari games titled Super Sprint, which had proven popular in both arcades and on its home ports. Now remember by this point that Atari Corporation and Atari Games were effectively two different entities, which may go some distance to explaining why this was not released as an official port of Super Sprint, even though Sprint in its various forms was originally an Atari arcade game from back in the days when men were men, women were women, and Atari was still Atari. It's very obviously at the very least a clone of Super Sprint though, since it features a lot of similar track designs, the ability to collect power-ups to improve your car's capabilities, and oil slicks to play havoc with your traction. Clone or official port, it's definitely a thing, so let's go play Sprint Master.
Okay, here we are once again with Atari Flashback Classics. Today taking a look at Sprint Master, which definitely possibly isn't Super Sprint, but might be, I don't know. Anyway, let's have a look at the manual, as we do usually. So here's the sort of later era of Atari 2600 manuals in black and white and red. Nice bit of artwork on the front. Speed into the Sprint Master Hall of Fame. Choose your track from practice caliber squares to the curvaceous championship courses. Rev up at the starting line and take off. Keep a good grip on the controls. You'll need a delicate touch and a cool head to avoid sliding into the wall on those arcing curves. Watch your time. Take advantage of the bonus speed and traction boxes at the necessary moments. Grab the lead on the first lap or let your challenger outpace you and then make him eat dust in the final laps. Outrace an opponent or go at it again to beat your own time. Sprint to the finish and win. Okay, so this will run on Atari 2600 or 7800. That's one other way you can tell that this is a later era 2600 release. It's fairly straightforward, to be honest. Both cars are positioned at the starting line, then it's ready, set, go. Accelerate with your joystick button and steer with your joystick handle. Push the handle left or right to turn in that direction. Pull the handle back for an emergency brake. Release the joystick button to slow down. Yeah, so interestingly, although a lot of earlier racing games on the 2600 and indeed from Atari's arcade history used a variation on paddle controls called the driving controller, which was basically a paddle control that didn't have boundaries on the left and right. It just kept rotating in either direction. This game is designed to be played with the joystick. So I'm not 100% clear on the 2600 bundles that were available, but I believe the original releases of the 2600, the wood grain ones, they came with paddles. But I think the 2600 Junior, which is what sort of coincided with this era of games, I don't think they did. They just came with a joystick. And so with new games, they couldn't make the assumption that people would have paddle controllers anymore. So this was designed to be played with a joystick, and I don't believe it supports paddle controls at all. So yeah, if you're accustomed to the way paddle controlled driving games work on the 2600, it's a bit of an adjustment, but if you're used to top-down racing games on, say, home computers at the time, it'll be fairly natural. Okay, racing tips: pick up momentum in the straightaways, keep to the inside track on curves. On Blacktop, make for the red boxes to gain as much speed as you can. On ice, head for the blue boxes for extra traction. And that's it. Okay, well, let's play. Lovely bit of 2600 music from the awesome power of the TIA chip. Okay, so what we do is you choose one player or two players. Obviously I'm by myself today, so it will be one player. And you choose if when you hit a wall, you bounce off the wall or you crash. So let's start with bounce. And then choose how many laps you want to do. Let's leave it on 4 for the minute. And then you pick what course you want to do. So you see there's 9 different courses you can choose from. So let's start with this nice simple one. And then you choose what surface you want to race on. So Blacktop is just basic tarmac. Dirt is dirt, obviously. And ice is ice. And they all handle quite differently. So, yeah, we'll have a look at all of those. We won't necessarily look at all of the tracks on all of the different surfaces, but I'll give you an idea of what some of the different tracks look like and how the different surfaces handle. So we'll start with this nice simple course on Blacktop, just to get used to it. So ready, set, go! So I am the red car, if that wasn't already abundantly clear. Oh god. Oh god. Oh god, picking up that speed bonus is a complete liability. There we go, I won. It's pretty simple, isn't it? Yeah, so in single play you just race against a computer-controlled opponent, but the main focus is sort of setting the best times. It doesn't record best times or anything like that, I don't think, but I mean, people who had played 2600 games for a while by this point will be well familiar with keeping a notepad at your side at all times to record your own high scores. So, alright, let's try something else. Let's try crash mode on a slightly more complex course, so let's keep it on Blacktop again. And off we go. And you see what happens now is if you collide in a wall, instead of just slowing down, you'll just blow up. Which is much more challenging. Oh dear. Yeah, that speed pickup actually makes it impossible. That's the trouble, it's just a little bit too fast to handle. And because the pixels on screen are so big, it means that you absolutely whip across the screen really quickly, and it makes it quite challenging to you know, stay in control. So let's maybe stay on bounce mode for the minute. Let's go for 4 laps. Let's try this one. Let's try this one on dirt. So if you watch the preview of this, you see that there's actually a jump in this one. That's very Super Sprint. Super Sprint had a bunch of tracks that have jumps on them. So obviously with the limited graphical capabilities of the Atari 2600, you have to kind of imagine what's going on to a certain extent, but the way the car sprites change size slightly, or rather they just stretch vertically, that gives you an idea of what's happening. Alright, let's have a go and see how differently dirt handles. So dirt isn't super hard to handle, but it does mean that you sort of slide sideways a little bit as you go around corners, so that means it's a little bit more in your interest to slow down for those corners. Just let up on the accelerator slightly. In fact, I think just in general in this game, being a bit more willing to let go the accelerator is probably the way to go, especially on those more high-speed tracks. Okay, so that's how dirt works. Let's go bounce, 4-lap race. Let's try this one here. This has actually got an underpass, I believe. So you go under there, and then over the top. Again, very Super Sprint. Let's try ice. This isn't going to go well at all. So now on ice, if you grab the blue power-up, the traction power-up, it completely negates the effect of the ice altogether. So you'll find that's almost essential. Yeah, ice basically works like an extreme form of the dirt, so it still sends you kind of blasting out sideways as you go around the corners. So it's a little bit hard to see what's going on this track. We'll try one of the simple tracks in a moment, so just so you can see how the ice works, because it actually isn't quite as simple as just sliding out to the side, I don't think. So let's go 1 player, bounce, 4 laps, easy track on ice. So what happens on ice when you don't have the traction power up is that you steer around the corner, but you keep going your previous direction for a moment. So that means you actually need to steer a second or two before the corner. That wasn't a good demonstration at all because I kept picking up the traction power up, didn't I? Right, let's do that again. You can hopefully see as I go around the corner, while I'm turning, I'm still proceeding in that original direction. But once you got your head round how that works, you can very easily compensate for that. Actually, that's actually easier to handle than the dirt track, I think. Okay, let's try some more. Let's go for number 4 on this figure 8. Honestly, going to be confusing, isn't it? All right, figure 8, and let's go for another dirt. All right, so the blue stripy thing, if you hadn't noticed, slows you down, and the red stripy thing speeds you up. This is basically an early example of a racing game that has boost pads, much like you'd see in something like Mario Kart a little bit later. Oh god, yeah, those red pickups are really beyond useless. Didn't come too far behind that time. The traction power up is very helpful on the dirt tracks though, from the look of things. Alright, let's keep going. How about this one? This looks like a bit of a nightmare, so let's just do this one on Blacktop. Whoops! Right, so under here, round here. Oh, awkward. Oh, I didn't mean to pick that up. Oh, I did it again. I don't think I've ever seen a... Oh no, I'm stuck under the bridge. I don't think I've ever seen a better example of a power-up that you specifically want to avoid picking up. Right, avoid... Oh, it doesn't matter anymore. Alright, what else have we got? Alright, this one doesn't look too bad. Let's go for a Blacktop again. Grab the traction, around the corner. On Blacktop you can go pretty much full speed all the way round just because your cornering's so good by default. As long as you've got the timing right and you don't inadvertently pick up the speed up power up. Although I guess if you're good enough and your reactions are fast enough, you can even get away with picking up the speed power up. My reactions are not that good, however, so... There we go, easy win. Alright, what about this nightmarish looking beast? Let's see if my amazing steering skills on Blacktop will stand me in good stead on this one. Oh, that's interesting. This one's got a shortcut. Again, just like Super Sprint. Super Sprint had lots of courses that had gates and bollards that kind of opened and closed as you went around that could allow you to take cheeky shortcuts if you timed them perfectly. But if you timed them badly, you would actually go much slower. You could even destroy your car if you ended up sort of caught between the two sides of the gates as it was closing. I'm gaining. No, not fast enough. Not fast enough. I'll try that one again. That one was quite fun, actually. Oh, too hard. You'll notice that the computer racer isn't exactly playing fair. In that it can immediately change direction on the corners. And is thus just following a set path. Oh, pipped him to the win. Good. That does make him quite easy to beat though, because there's no sort of having to find a good place to overtake or anything like that. It's just purely take a better racing line than him. Because he's not taking a perfect racing line by any means. He's just taking a set path around the course. Oh, some more shortcuts on this one. Yeah, it's nice that the demo mode shows you how those work as well. Shows that it is actually quite possible to get a decent distance ahead if you time yourself properly. Alright, let's go for another dirt race. Obviously, with the way the computer player works, he also isn't affected by either the stripy things on the road or the power-ups. Oh no, I'm stuck! So you can use that knowledge to both your advantage and disadvantage. Oh, speed is not a good one to have on dirt. Well, that was bad, wasn't it? Let's try that course on Blacktop. Oh, this one's quite narrow is the trouble. And again, with the limited number of pixels, it means it doesn't take very long for your car to get across those roads. Which means you need to start turning a lot earlier than you think you need to. And if you get the speed power up, stop turning a lot earlier than you think you need to as well. Oh dear me. Alright, let's go for a slightly longer race. Let's go for a 10-lap race. Let's go on one that's not too horrendously difficult. Let's go for a 10-lap race on this one. See how we get on Blacktop, just so it's not too horrendously difficult. I'll try and master some... Oh god! I see that speed power up. It just feels like someone has sort of got a rubber band in your car and just twangs you forward. Because you go at normal speed for a split second and then it's just twang and off you go. Going alright so far, even though I'm making mistakes along the way. I'm a good lap ahead of the computer opponent. Nice. Now, I believe there was something in here about difficulty switches, wasn't there? Let's have a look. Or was there? Oh, here we are. Use the left difficulty switch on your console to change your steering. Move the switch to the A or left position for more difficult control with less traction. Move it to the B or right position for easier control, more traction. Again, as always, I'll say the easy way to remember which way round the difficulty switches are is that B is for beginner, so it's easier, and A is for advanced, so it's more difficult. Let's try the easy track on Blacktop with the more difficult steering. Not really feeling any difference here. If anything, the game just feels like it's going slightly choppier. It's only a very slight thing, mind, but... That's definitely on A. Let's set both of them to A, just in case it was misinterpreting which controller I am. One more try on this easy one. Then we'll try it on maybe dirt and ice and see if that makes a difference. No, there's definitely no real discernible difference here. I don't know if it's just a course. Let's try a harder course. Or no, let's try that first course on dirt. No, again, if anything that feels easier. Yeah, I'm not feeling any change there. Alright, how about ice? Yeah, nothing. Nothing. I can't tell what the difference is there at all. One last test though. Let's try a more complicated course on Blacktop. Let's try... actually... This one. This one, because this one isn't too fiddly, but it is just a little bit more technical than the easy one. So, Blacktop. Off we go. Traction power up right by the start, just to throw off our test results. Trying to avoid that. Oh, we've done it again. Every lap. I wonder if you turn more slowly on the harder level. Let's just try again. Kind of hard to tell. I have a feeling that's what it might be. I think it might be just that you turn slightly slower on the advanced level, so that means you're more likely to have to slow down to get around a corner. I think, like I say, hard to tell, and it doesn't really tell you in the manual either exactly what it does. It just says you have less traction, but it doesn't behave in the same way as you driving on the dirt or the ice. It's something's different. God knows what though. Anyway. That should hopefully give you a good idea of what Sprint Master is all about. It's a fun little game, whether you're playing it solo or, I think probably preferably with a friend. But there's fun to be had here as a single player. It's a decent conversion of the Super Sprint format to the 2600, considering the limitations of the 2600. There's actually most of the features of the races in Super Sprint in this. The only thing you don't have is the ability to actually upgrade your car between races like in Super Sprint. As in Super Sprint, you pick up spanners as you go around the track, and then you spend those spanners on increases to your top speed or your acceleration or your traction or anything like that. So, whereas in this, it's just a case of you pick up a power-up during the race and you have a limited period of improved traction or improved top speed or something like that. So, but I mean, for one-off races, that's obviously better, because what could happen in Super Sprint, certainly the arcade version anyway, is that if one player was winning all the time and getting all the upgrades and the other players had to keep continuing, they could quite easily be left behind in terms of performance, which would make it more and more difficult for them to win the more that they lost. So that said, I think in Super Sprint, I think you keep your power-ups if you continue. It's been a while since I played it, but I have a vague memory of keeping your power-ups if you continue in that, but I could be wrong. Anyway, power-ups are purely temporary in Sprint Master. Right, let's leave that there for today. As always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again next time.